Welcome to Channel Japan. I'm Maki Arai.
And I'm Makiko Tsuda.
Every week we bring you the freshest information out of Japan, right here from our studio in Tokyo.
From the economy, culture, and even foods, if you want to find out what's happening in Japan right now, this is where you'll find it.
This is our lineup for today. We'll be looking at some interesting topics, so make sure you stay with us. Well, let's get started. First up is Executive Insight, in which we speak with executives of Japan's leading companies. So, Utsuda-san, what's on the menu today?
For today, we'll be covering something called Line. Now, it's a hugely popular smartphone application that allows users to make phone calls and send messages for free.
Yes.
And the developer, which goes by the same name, is one of the most watched companies in Japan right now. Now, I have a graph over here. And it shows the number of registered users using the service. And as you can see, the service was launched in June 2011, and in just 19 months, it has surpassed 100 million. So
Already.
It's been growing very quickly.
Yes.
And the application is said to be a hit not just in Japan, but also in South Korea and Taiwan and even Spain. And I have another graph. Which shows how many days it took for some of the same kind of services to hit 50 million users. And it just shows that Line has reached that landmark much quicker than even Twitter or Facebook.
Oh, so it's like 3 times faster than other social networks.
Exactly, yes. Do you use Line, Arai-san?
I use them to communicate with my friends. I send them pictures and also text each other.
So I do too, but I'm sure you must know that aside from the free phone calls, the great draw is the stamps.
Yes.
And just to show our viewers what stamps exactly are, I'm going to send Arai-san a stamp. Here we go. Okay.
Oh, I got it.
Yes.
It's the rabbit.
It's a rabbit.
They really express your feelings, don't they?
They do, and that's why it's so good to use them back and forth. Now, conventional smartphone messaging apps include Skype or KakaoTalk of South Korea and WhatsApp, and they all have big user numbers in the tens of millions. And in addition, a slew of new entrants are coming into the market. So the market is becoming very fierce in competition, and so we went to ask what Line's strategy is to stay ahead in the market. So take a look.
Executive Insight. Smartphones are fast replacing cell phones as the choice of mobile users around the world. In Japan, smartphone shipments reached nearly 30 million units in 2012. One locally developed application is attracting a wide following. Line. On the streets of Tokyo, our interviews revealed a large number of Line users.
どんなアプリ入れてますか？
LINE とか Twitter とかよく使うのは LINE。
ビデオ通話とかその辺の
はい、やってます。LINE とか、
LINE やってらっしゃる。
はい、やってます。スタンプとかも種類で使って、もうメール使わずにそればっか使ってるみたいな感じですね。
LINE 入れてます。はい。早く連絡取りたいときに便利なんで、メールよりも LINE を使ってます。はい。
LINE は入ってます。LINE は必需品ですね。
Line is currently on a roll. The company behind it is headquartered on the top floors of a brand new building in Shibuya, Tokyo.
You walk through a corridor which is coloured green, their company colour, and you reach a very fashionable office. 今日はよろしくお願いします。
We spoke with company president Akira Morikawa about the success they've had in building up their user base.
Why did you name the service Line?
Our original aim was to come up with a communication tool. That's how Line was born. A big meaning behind the name is our mission of becoming the most connected tool for communication among people. When we thought about one day expanding into the rest of the world, we wanted something simple. And we felt Line was the perfect name.
Line is an application that allows smartphone users to make phone calls and send messages free of charge, around the world and across different carriers.
While there are other similar services, why do you think Line is being chosen by many users?
We focused on human relationships in a closed environment. On services like Facebook and Twitter, you're bound to get friend requests and have to deal with people you don't know. I'm sure many people find that annoying. Line is set up so that you're only connected to people on your phone list and no one else. That's something we were quite particular about.
A big reason behind the boom are these. Messages come with a feature called stamps, which are characters that can express emotions difficult to get across in text. In addition to original characters offered by Line itself, there are over 5,000 different stamps and emoticons from other companies.
They've become familiar faces.
Yes, they've become very popular.
Do you feel you have been helped by them to promote your service?
When messages are sent not just by text, but with characters, the characters themselves need to be attractive to users, or else the message won't have value. In that sense, I feel they're working hard.
One of your characteristics is stamps. How were they developed?
When we began the smartphone business, we asked ourselves what succeeded first in the PC space, and then feature phones. As we analyzed the data, we became convinced that what happened with feature phones would happen with smartphones. One thing that interested us was emoticons, as well as email decorations. And as we thought about how they would look on smartphones, we discussed making them a bit bigger and expressing emotions using the entire body. We took the ones that were the most popular and delved deeper into them.
In Japan, emoticons have been part of the messaging culture since the inception of cell phones. Happy and sad faces, dogs and cats, food, weather, transportation. Out of this vast selection, one or more icons are chosen and attached to messages. This tendency to use emoticons is also a big factor behind Line's popularity.
You're offering a service based on free messaging and free phone calls. So how do you make a profit from that?
Currently, our revenues come from paid stamps and social games linked to Line. In terms of item sales and B2B, we have official corporate accounts and sponsored stamps paid for by sponsors that we distribute for free. That's our core profit model right now.
You're asking companies to pay a fairly costly fee of $35,000 per month. So what was the thinking behind this?
The focus of Line is about messaging between really close people. If companies start crowding in, users will start receiving lots of marketing. When we think about our image, the value of messages sent between users will become diluted. So we were careful in only allowing national brands in the beginning. But we've been setting it up so that they don't bombard users with marketing. They can reach out to users and communicate with them like friends. We want to nurture our service with extra care.
How is Line used by companies? The corporate account page lists numerous major companies which use Line as a PR tool. These are the top 3 by registered users. All of them have over 4 million users. Lawson is ranked number 1 with 6 million. Ranked 3rd on the list is Kentucky Fried Chicken. The image of its founder, Colonel Sanders, is a familiar sight. To involve users, the company created a stamp of the Colonel and distributed it for a limited time. The rare, free stamps showing him laughing, crying, and expressing other emotions caught the attention of users. Within a week, 2 million new users signed up. They are also able to distribute coupons directly to registered users, drawing them to their stores. The #1 corporate account by registered users is nationwide convenience store chain Lawson. They were one of the earliest companies to buy into the service. Last year, they issued coupons for half-price chicken through their account, 500,000 of them. About 100,000 people actually visited their stores and used the coupons. Marketing through Line has helped increase coupon redemption rates and customers. The company is also developing other services such as games to further expand their user base. They rely on a certain type of research.
Now here is their user research room. This is where, when they develop new games or services, they ask users to actually try them out before they're released.
Instrumental in the development of smartphone and PC games and websites is UX research, which gets potential users to actually test out their products and provide feedback on usability and convenience. Mr. Morikawa considers the user's perspective the most important aspect of the business and has set up this research room. The expressions of testers are videotaped and fed to monitors in a back room where the staff analyze their emotions.
テストをしないで出して、で実際にその時、いけるって思ったものがダメだったケース、いけないって思ったものが良かったケースなんていうふうにありますので、リスクヘッジのために事前にですね、こういったユーザーテストを行ってリリースしていくことで、開発の精度を上げたりとかっていったところにつながってくるかなと思っています。
Since starting services in June 2011, Line has scored a series of hits. In just 19 months, its user base surpassed 100 million.
皆さん、全世界ユーザー1億人達成、おめでとうございます。これはですね、単なる通過点すいません。世界挑戦の切符を手に入れたという状況かなと思います。
Line is now used not just in Japan, but around the world. It has been ranked the #1 free application in app stores in 41 countries and regions. Taiwan is an especially big market, with Line accessed by 1 in 2 smartphone users. User growth is on a sharp upward trajectory.
これが 134 million users. You reached this huge number in a relatively short period of time. Now, was it one of your goals?
In the beginning, our goal was 100 million. Our numbers are continuing to increase. If we want to go the same route as Facebook and Twitter, then 100 million isn't enough. We want to aim for several hundred million. We held an event here on the day we hit 100 million. We didn't make a big deal out of it and just kept on working. People in the company don't think this number is anything special. We're all working toward a much higher goal.
So reaching 100 million users wasn't a special day?
I want our user base to reach 300 or 500 million.
Mr. Morikawa takes us to a slightly different cafeteria. There's a line of stamped characters and even building blocks. He says this kind of scene is unusual in a Japanese company.
Why was this space created?
When you're sitting at a desk, it's difficult to come up with a new idea. Usually the moment when ideas flow out is the moment you're relaxed. In this kind of environment, ideas suddenly come to you when you're staring off into space. There are some people who sleep. I wanted to make it that kind of space. I wanted to create an environment in which people aren't just typing away inside an office, but relaxing and giving birth to something new.
The internet is in constant flux. Line 2 will need to continue evolving.
Changing emissions from copper refineries into fertilizer. That is where Sumitomo Chemical got its start. For 100 years, we've been delivering the power of chemistry around the world. And we will continue to help make the world a better place for the next 100 years and more.
My parents work at a really great company, which makes cool computers and LCD TVs. Not only that, they build elevators for skyscrapers and zooming fast bullet trains. My mom designs the company's CT scan systems, which spot diseases. My dad develops power generation systems so people will have plenty of electricity. The company where my parents work is Toshiba.
Has anybody finished doing their pictures?
I have.
All around the world, Toshiba technology is hard at work, bringing smarter, faster, more sustainable development to life.
When I grow up, I want to work for people.
For a growing future, Toshiba.
ยังจำได้หรือเปล่านะเรื่องต่างๆที่เกิดขึ้นตอนวาดรูปนี้แต่ถ้ารถยนต์ในฝันของฉันมีจริงฉันคงจะมีความสุขมากเลย
Asia, the engine of the global economy. Japan, a regional powerhouse. And now, direct from Japan, economic news with a global impact in Chinese and English, delivered by Nikkei. Read the future, lead the economy. Nikkei, Japan's leading media for business.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next up is Project Japan. Our report this time comes from the Nikkei online edition. It's about the devastating earthquake and tsunami that occurred in 2011.
That's right. It's been 2 years since then, and we'll be showing you footage from the ground and sky to see the progress of the reconstruction in the region.
The Project Japan.
大きな津波が何波にも分けて迫っております。
March 11, 2011. Northeastern Japan is devastated by a powerful earthquake and tsunami. The number of dead and missing reaches nearly 20,000. This March, we flew to the coast of northeastern Japan. Kessen-Numa, Miyagi Prefecture, was one of the hardest hit regions. This is how the area looked before the disaster. It was once a major fishing town. About 1,300 people were killed or went missing. The tsunami and a fire sparked by a fuel leak decimated the town. 2 years on, large swaths of land remain abandoned. A big ship sits out of place, far from the coast. Before the disaster, it was docked at Kesennuma port. The tsunami carried it over 600 meters inland. Many people visit this place to pray for the victims. This is Yoichi Sasaki, a local resident who volunteers as a guide.
I 私この船のそのいろんな機能は別にしてですね、あそこに下に車が押しつぶされてるんですよ。初めは私分からないです。分からなかったです。
Residents are still debating what to do with the ship.
これは起きたこととしてやっぱりその、これを残さなくちゃ分からないっていう私は必要ないと思う。石碑なら石碑だけでも十分。
The local government is considering building a park and keeping the ship where it is to remind future generations of the disaster. However, many residents say they don't want to look at the ship anymore. Together with the ship's owner, they are asking that it be dismantled.
避難所に逃げたんだけど、その避難所もやられて100人弱の人間が亡くなってるんですけども、絆っていう石碑置いてるだけですよ。だからなんでこれを大きな市場のこの船を残さなくちゃ、漁船を残さなくちゃならないっていうような、論理にはならないと思うんだけどね。
This is footage that Mr. Sasaki took that day.
2階まで行った。おらんだもんなくなる。ここですね。
He shows us where his house used to stand.
この今土屋乗ってるのが私の家です。
His house was partially destroyed by the tsunami and later demolished.
「伝えたいっていうことはやっぱりいかに大変だったか、現状すごいなっていう、この瓦礫とかなんかまだ残ってましたから、まあ今復興してる状況、あるいは復興してない状況を謙虚な言い方をすれば語り部的な話は私はしたいと思う。まず震災の際に
We next headed north. This is Rikuzen Takata, Iwate Prefecture. Coming into view is a single tree surrounded by scaffolding. Before the disaster, about 70,000 pine trees grew in this coastal area. The pine forest had been designated a national scenic spot and was said to have protected the town from previous tsunami. But almost all of the trees were swept away. Miraculously, this single pine survived. To prevent it from toppling over, the local government began preservation work last year. A pine tree that withstood the tsunami has become a symbol of the area's recovery. Nearly 2,000 people were killed or went missing in Rikuzen Takata. The city center was almost entirely destroyed. 2 years have passed, but work to demolish the remaining buildings continues. In one section, a small project to revitalize the region has been started. This is called the Future Shopping Arcade. People who lost their shops are cooperating to build a temporary facility. One of them is Osamu Ogasawara, who runs a clothing shop. Founded over 50 years ago, it was swept away by the tsunami.
でやはり第三者から見てると陸前た形で商売やるとやっぱり無茶だと冷静に考えろと言われました。ここでやるんでは覚悟が必要なんですね。覚悟。仮説でやってますけども本説に向けて私もみんなもそうですけどももうすでにそういう頭の中にそのこうやっていきたいどうやっていきたいかってことを考えながら進んでいく時期だと思ってます今は。
On this day, a bus arrives at the shopping arcade. A highway bus route has been opened to replace the damaged railroad. An event to commemorate the launch is being held. A local troupe of drummers gives a performance. For a short while, the residents forget about their worries. We're back in Miyagi Prefecture. This is Wakabayashi Ward, Sendai City. The city designated its coast a disaster danger zone. Out of concerns that another tsunami could wreak havoc, they've banned the construction of new homes and are asking residents to relocate. About 1,500 households are being asked to move inland. While some have willingly left for safer ground, others insist on remaining in the place where they've set down roots. The head of a residents' group explains the complex emotions surrounding the issue.
町もねそんな遠くないし住むのには最適で本当ね夏は私波乗りもしてましたから未だに嫌いじゃないんですよ。ただやっぱりねああいう災害起きでそういうところにねまた来るかもいつ来るか分かんないしねそういうところにやっぱ子供とかね一緒に住ませるわけにいかないから。
確認できますでしょうか。
This is footage of the area taken on that fateful day.
撮影機、現在若林区、沿岸部ですが、沿岸部で火災確認できます。
移転ねやっぱりみんなまとまってね荒浜の人とかと一緒に移転したいんですけど、ね再建するにもやっぱ資金が必要ですから、実際の今のね現状の支援だけではとても足りない現状だしね。
The residents set up a statue of the Buddhist goddess Kannon and a memorial with the help of a local stonemason. Wakabayashi Ward lost over 300 of its residents.
何もかもみんな流さったもんだからね。
涙こぼすさきた。
ね涙しか出てこない何も出てこないよね。
写真一つ欲しかったのね。亡くなったらこの写真で送ってねって遺言してた写真欲しかった。
For many of the disaster survivors, the road home remains long and riddled with uncertainty.
So Utsuda-san, it's been 2 years since the disaster, but I was struck by how slow the rebuilding process has been.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the case. I've visited the devastated areas 3 times up to now, and the last time I visited was a year ago. And unfortunately, little seems to have significantly changed since then. Now, I have some data to show you. It's a survey carried out by Nikkei, and they asked 37 cities, towns and villages in affected areas. And a majority say that less than 20% of their areas have been rebuilt after the disaster.
Well, why has the pace been so slow?
Well, the biggest reason given for the slow progress was the labour shortage. And in addition to the lack of construction-related personnel, labour and material costs have skyrocketed. And what's been especially slow, as you can see in the graph, has been the construction of public housing. And as we saw in the report, funds to help people move are in short supply. And in certain cases, people still haven't even found places to relocate to. And forced to live in evacuation facilities for so long, some people are just giving up on moving back to their hometowns. So it's becoming increasingly difficult for these communities to re-establish.
Right. But at the same time, we also saw people who decided to tough it out in their hometowns and try to rebuild their businesses.
That's right. Well, there are lots of people in various industries that are making the same kind of efforts. And last year I had the chance to meet an oyster farmer who lost everything in the tsunami and had a load of debt on his shoulders on top of that. But he didn't wait around for government help and decided to put in his personal savings to rebuild his oyster farm. And he also adopted new technology, which helped him to ship out fresh oysters in half the usual time, and he was able to turn around his business.
So what is the situation with the companies in the region? I mean, I understand that many component factories were affected, causing supply shortages, not just in Japan, but around the world.
Yes, you're right. Northeastern Japan was home to numerous factories that make components for cars and electric appliances. And there was quite a big impact on global manufacturers because of their supply chain being disrupted by the tsunami and earthquake. And because of that, some manufacturers switched to other parts makers, and that meant the loss of sales channels for many of the factories. Now, I can show you some data from a survey of affected companies by Nikkei. It was carried out this February, and less than half, or about 43% of the companies, said their workforce had recovered to levels before the tsunami and earthquake.
So a lot of companies still haven't fully returned to normal.
Exactly. But there are some positive signs as well. And for example, a car parts manufacturer in Miyagi Prefecture that I visited 1 month after the disaster had a part of their factory totally destroyed by the tsunami. And despite facing a blackout on top of that, they installed a power generator to continue making parts for major car companies such as Honda. And by making sure that operations stayed online, they were back to full capacity when I visited them 6 months later. And now, starting this summer, they're planning to bring in a new line to supply parts to Toyota.
Well, the revitalization of local economies should help boost employment and accelerate the reconstruction of those regions. But there's no doubt that continued financial and material support is critical.
Mitsubishi Electric is helping to change the environment for the better around the world.
Green subway systems in India.
Green air conditioning systems in Singapore.
Eco changes for a greener tomorrow. Mitsubishi Electric.
The view is almost like peering down on the star-filled night sky at your feet. It's the city at night seen from a height of 450 meters. Make unforgettable memories. City lights stretching for as far as the eye can see. Find it at Tokyo Skytree.
train to the sky with Spacia. More than you expect.
Mitsui & Company.
You're watching Channel Japan. Next, we'll be showing you episodes from popular Japanese economics programs. Today, it's from TV Tokyo's World Business Satellite. Have a look.
Tokyu Hands in Shibuya. One section of this store deals specifically in handmade products. Each shelf space is an individual shop. They can be decorated freely, allowing shops to show off their own colors. One of the shop owners is Motohiro Shimomura. He sells wooden animal figures.
このように中にゴムの紐が入っていて、こんな風に動かしてポーズを変えられるようになっています。一点一点全部手作りで作っています。こういう場所だと実際に手に取って実物を見てもらえるっていうのはすごい大きいですね。
This section, where a 20% sales commission is paid to the store, has attracted about 500 creators in the 1 year since it was set up. The advantages are said to be wider exposure to customers and bigger sales. Interest in handmade products has been on the rise over the past several years. Underscoring that trend is the growth in the number of related shopping sites, of which there are now over 20. Competition between them is also intensifying. NTT Communications, which runs Creaco, recently launched a new project.
お子様が生まれて手作り始められたっていう方も非常に多いですので、例えばそのママさんに特化した形ですと、こういったクリエイコママというサイトを設けておりまして、お子様を持たれているママさんですと、必要なものがここのサイトに来ればすぐにご購入いただける。
This February, the company opened a website targeted at mothers, offering a variety of goods also handmade by mothers. We decided to visit one user of the site, Ayano Fujishige. A mother of 2 children in elementary school. She makes various things in her free time.
ここに留めのホックがつけば完成ですね。
She shows us some of her creations.
こちらはもう入園入学用のお手提げと上履き入れになります。で、こちらが移動ポケットですね。
The handmade pouch is used to hold handkerchiefs and tissues for children wearing pocketless clothes. She says orders come in from mothers who can't sew or don't have the time.
娘に必要なものを作ってみて便利だったなって思ったものをサイトにアップしてます。
Sellers pay a monthly fee of about $2 to Creaco. Putting up a product for sale costs about 10 cents. When a sale is actually made, a commission of about 5% is paid to NTT Communications. The site also offers tutorials on handmade crafts. At the bottom of the page is the name Yuzawaya. Through Crieco, NTT Communications receives commissions from sales of handmade products. Yuzawaya, meanwhile, wants to grow sales of materials and other do-it-yourself goods. The site was launched by these two companies with the aim of expanding their respective businesses. At one of Yuzawaya's stores,
今あちらの方でお母さんご自身がそのお子様のバッグとかを作られるための材料を売っているところなんですけど。
The sales floor has been rearranged for the new school year. There are various materials for mothers who saw the site and want to try making things on their own. There's that pouch, but it's not on sale. It's a sample for mothers to study from.
布地を買っていただいてマジックテープだとかこのクリップを、あといろんな便利グッズといいますか周辺商品もできればご一緒に買っていただきたいなということで陳列させていただいています。
They say a growing number of customers are those who began making things on their own after visiting the site.
作り方のレシピサイトっていうのを運営されているもの。
Mobile phone operator NTT Docomo also plans to launch a site specializing in handmade products this May.
今料理のクリエイターに関しては全国のクラフト系のイベントがありまして、こういったところでその場でヘッドハンティングができないか。登録までうまくフォローしてくれるとか。そうですよ。はい。その場で登録させちゃうまでいけるとね。そうですね。
With numerous sites already online, NTT Docomo is a late entrant to the market. The key will be their ability to sign up big-name creators who can attract customers.
ドコモが弊社がやることによってですね、こういったクリエイター市場というものの認知を一気に広げることができれば、大量生産品ではない一の効いた作品を求めているこの買う側の方のニーズにも応えられると。
Yu Sugai is one such creator. His products are sold at a shop inside the Tokyo Metropolitan Art Museum. Humor is an element of many of Mr. Sugai's creations. On this day, staff from NTT Docomo's handicraft sales site come to see him. The purpose is to get Mr. Sugai's products on the site. They have been traveling across the country to directly negotiate with creators. The company is aiming to gather products from creators of various genres to increase the attractiveness of the site and pull in customers right away. As virtual and physical stores join hands to connect creators and consumers, the market for handmade crafts is likely to continue expanding.
Utsuda-san, I understand the next topic is about turning inferiority complexes or hang-ups into business opportunities.
That's right. Now, everyone seems to have hang-ups about one thing or another, and now there are businesses to help you overcome them.
Well, I have to say I have a complex about my weight.
Really? I seriously doubt that, but still we'll be showing you some new initiatives by Japanese manufacturers in this area, so take a look.
The heart of Japanese fashion, Shibuya. Some of the leading brands can be found here at Parco. On this day, a certain event is being held. At one shop, a crowd of people and press gather. Appearing in front of the cameras are models strut into the room. They are all wearing clothes sized 3L and above. In fact, this is a fashion show for plus-size women. This event was held to mark the inaugural issue of a magazine called La Farfa. It is the first magazine in Japan targeting plus-size women. Practicality is a key focus, with the measurements of all the models clearly indicated. La Farfa is published by Bunkasha. It was the brainchild of this woman.
ぽっちゃりって言ってもいろいろなんで、下半身がぽっちゃりしている子と上半身のちょっと胸のボリュームがすごくある子と、背が高い子、背が低い子で全然着こなしが変わってくるから。
A common predicament faced by plus-size people. She herself also has a complex.
私やっぱね、下半身と腕肉です、腕肉。ここからここの肉と腕はね、隠せないんですよ。
Until recently, she says she could only choose clothes that fit, not those that she wanted to wear. But in the past 3 years, brands catering to plus-size women have grown rapidly.
もう圧倒的に選択肢が増えてきているとは思うんですね。ぽっちゃりのファッションのセレクトショップなんかも出てきて、あらゆる面でその環境が整ったのではないかと判断をしました。まだまだ早々期なんだけど、やるなら今だと。
Casual apparel retailer Uniqlo also began selling plus-size wear last August, mainly through their online shop. Started with just 13 product lines, they have expanded their plus-size offerings to 77 for this year's spring and summer line. They say plus-size products account for 70% of total online sales.
すごくお客さんが待たれていて、新商品が出ると買われるっていう、そういう購買行動が見れると、我々の本当に成長戦略の一つの柱として位置づけて取り組んでいます。
The plus-size market is also generating interest from major brands. Leading the way is Smileland, which staged the fashion show.
見ていただくと分かるんですけど、長いベルトを作ってるんですよ。そうなんです。多分ね、サイズを見ていただくと分かるんですけど、130センチっていう長さってメンズでもない長さなんですね。
Inside the shop are clothes adorned with laces and frills. A wide range of sizes are available for each item. All the way up to a size 10L. Smileland is run by a major mail-order company, Nissen. It is their only brick-and-mortar store. In the apparel industry, shops that get 30% of visitors to make a purchase are said to be successful. At Smileland, that number is 60%. The reason is their store layout catered specifically to plus-size customers.
当店自慢なんで。
This is the dressing room. It's nearly 5 square meters. A hose from an air conditioning unit behind delivers a constant breeze of cool air. And all of the products are displayed on shelves higher than knee level.
この作業が結構こう、私もそうなんですけど、お腹が使えるんですよ。
What's more, the shop staff are themselves plus size. They can demonstrate how the clothes fit and understand the customer's needs.
これからますますライバルが増えると思いますね。だけどもいろんな会社がね、もっとそのね、大きなサイズでも普通と同じようなファッションをしましょうと、もっとこう外に出てね、明るく堂々とね、やりましょうよと、行動しましょうよと、そういうことをどんどんメッセージ出していけば、一人当たりの金額増えて市場が増えればね、それでもいいかなと。しかし負けないようにうちも頑張りますので。
Complexes are difficult to expose to the outside world, but properly channeled, they can give rise to big business opportunities. Morishita Jintan is known for selling breath mints. They are cultivating a new market with the launch of a slightly different product. This is a drugstore beneath Nagoya Station. A woman at the makeup sales counter is attaching an advertisement to products. She is an employee of Morishita Jintan.
眉毛、あと体毛ですね、髪の毛がそういった体の体毛を生やす発毛促進のお薬ですね。
Perus went on sale last year. Although similar to makeup, it is actually a hair growth drug that can only be sold by a licensed pharmacist. When applied to the eyebrows like makeup, it stimulates hair growth. Nearly 120 years since being established, Morishita Jintan has made curing the complex of bad breath their bread and butter business. So why an eyebrow hair growth accelerant?
眉毛を描くという商品はいくらでもあるんですけども、若い頃のように元に戻そうというものがいう商品が世の中になくてですね、それに応えるべく商品を、我々も、いわゆる見つけてきて、これを出すことによって問題解決型商品という位置づけですけども。
Inspired by pop stars such as Namie Amuro, thin eyebrows were once a big trend among women. Now, natural eyebrows and natural shapes have come back into vogue. But overplucking damages hair follicles, and many women are finding their eyebrows not growing back. The root of a new hang-up. Although they can only be sold through a pharmacist, they're displayed in the makeup section together with eyelash extensions and other products.
化粧品の売り場に一類の医薬品を置くっていうのは正直イレギュラーなところではあるんですけど、他にはない商品なので購入に結びつく方が多いですね。
片岡さん使われてます？
私もちょっとハゲてるところがあるのでちょんちょんって使ってます。
In the first 4 months, shipments exceeded 25,000 bottles, above their original forecasts.
まだまだ、世の中にいっぱいいろんなことで悩んでいる方はいらっしゃると思いますので、そういった方たちに対してですね、お客様のニーズを吸い上げて、今後もやっぱりそういうのを少しでも見つけながらですね、対応していきたいというふうには考えております。
Complexes are usually kept hidden, but unearthed and confronted, they can bloom into big business.
So, Utsuda-san, I was surprised by how it's not simply about overcoming a complex, but also having fun in the process.
You're right. Now, there's one business that's a prime example of this. What do you think it is?
I say learning language.
Right.
Well, a lot of Japanese people take language lessons outside of regular school, and I have to say many Japanese people seem to have a foreign language complex.
I think so too, actually. Now, I have some data over here. It shows the size of the Japanese language education market, which is about $8 billion. That means people in this country spend an average of about $70 to $80 a year on language lessons.
So that is not actually surprising because you see English schools everywhere in Japan and they're always advertising on TV.
They are, aren't they? Now, when you look closely at the market, there's actually an interesting trend because until recently, demand seemed to be going down in line with the rapidly aging population, but nowadays there's been somewhat of an upswing.
Why is that?
Well, the reason seems to be the working age population, and a growing number of companies are starting to reward their employees for acquiring language skills with higher payments, or some have even made English the official company language. And it seems more people are studying English as a way to expand their scope of communication rather than simply to meet educational requirements.
Well, I guess to be expected with intensifying global competition.
Yes, you're right. Now, I have a survey that was done by a research center in Switzerland. It shows a ranking on business language ability, and as you can see, Japan is at the bottom. So that means if you make great products, you may not be able to turn them into a viable business because of the language barrier, which is very a shame. So this is something that many companies need to overcome.
I agree. There certainly needs to be a big change in mindset in Japan. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Channel Japan. We have much more in store for you next week, so make sure you tune in.
Look at this. They're building a huge steel plant with Kobelco technology.
Kobelco? Never heard of it.
It's Japanese. They can make iron with incredible speed. What once took 8 hours can be done in just 10 minutes.
Wow, the Japanese are incredible. The country of karate.
Ha! 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 Karate has nothing to do with it.
True.
The talk of the world. Kobelco.
Where we see nothing, there could be anything. Panasonic is putting the endless energy of the sun to work. Generating, storing, and managing energy efficiently. Helping power our daily lives.
Panasonic.
Traditional.
Consistent.
Precise.
Speedy.
Professional. Innovative.
Polite. Quality from Japan. The best of business in Asia. SMBC. Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation.
How do we build sustainability into our relationship with Mother Earth? That's Kaiteki, Mitsubishi Chemical Holdings.
The search is on to discover the next creative master of Asia. Japan's leading TV and radio network, TBS, brings to you the Digicon 6 Awards, giving visual artists in Asia an opportunity to create their dreams. Whether it's a short drama, animation, or music video, if it's yours, you may be the next winner of the Digicon 6 Grand Prize. For more details, check out digicon6.com.
It's time to create your dreams.